Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And indeed, the cost of living and affordability for British Columbians is top of mind for everybody right now. And people are struggling. They go to the grocery store, and the basics are far more expensive than they were even weeks or months ago. We know that food is going to get more expensive as climate change progresses. We know that without closing the vacancy control loopholes, rental housing will continue to rise. Rent in Victoria has jumped 18% in the last year alone. And we know that without access to affordable transit, people will have no choice but to drive their cars and pay the rising costs of gasoline in this province. Today, we're hearing proposed concrete steps from the opposition, we're hearing responses from government, but we're also hearing a lot of pointing and blaming, and I don't think that's what British Columbians want to hear right now. They want to hear about what specific solutions are going to be put on the table that will address the growing challenges that they are facing to meet their monthly bills and daily costs. While the people are struggling, corporations are taking home record-breaking profits. My question to the Minister of Finance is what steps, concrete steps, is she going to take to rein in the profit-taking that is happening and being paid for by the people in British Columbia?
Minister of Finance.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I agree with the member. People really are struggling. They really are. And that's why we have already taken some significant actions, whether it's an ICBC rebate, additional supports through the Climate Action Tax Credit, so that we can be efficient and get money into people's hands. The BC Family Benefit, there'll be an additional top-up for those families that are eligible, Mr. Speaker. It's why we limited rent increases to only 2%. It's also why we eliminated the previous BC Liberal government's automatic 2% plus CPI. We had to change that formula as well. So we've taken some significant steps over the last number of years. And again, I want to say, and I hear the member saying, well, that was retroactive, but if we hadn't done that, then I think it would be 7.4% would be the tax increase if the BC Liberals were on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker. So we're continuing to address those very, very challenging problems that are not just here in British Columbia, and I think the member knows full well that this is around the globe. It's not unique to British Columbia. There are some significant challenges, and we're going to continue to work with everybody to address ways that we can help families. But again, I want to remind the member, and I know that this is important to her, is making sure that childcare is affordable. And I really have to say, well, some people seem disappointed, Mr. Speaker, that childcare is affordable, but I know that the British Columbians who are now benefiting significantly and paying perhaps an average of $20 a day are saying that this is making a real difference in their lives, and we're going to continue to drive those costs down, Mr. Speaker.
Leader of the Third Party Supplemental.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And while I appreciate the points that the Minister made, none of them spoke to what people can see is happening, and this is this growing profit-taking that is happening by corporations. So as people are struggling to just afford to live, companies are claiming record profits. Loblaws, first quarter earnings rose by almost 40%. First quarter, 40% rise. Cargill reported a 63% increase in profits of almost $5 billion. Oil and gas, profits are through the roof. Canadian Natural Resources has more than doubled its profits. Petronas, one of the key owners of the destructive Coastal GasLink pipeline, reported $5.1 billion in profits over the summer, more than double their profits last year. There is a growing inequality, and it is marked. TELUS, inserting itself into our public healthcare system, reported profits of $4.4 billion over the last quarter, an increase of 7.1%. My question again to the Minister of Finance, while British Columbians struggle, these corporations are raking in record profits. What steps is she going to take to ensure that British Columbians are not suffering from this profit-taking?
Minister of Finance.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Well, perhaps the member didn't hear my previous example of this young woman who is seriously benefiting in a big way from our investment in childcare. Perhaps she's forgotten that we're delivering free transit for children. This makes a significant difference for families. But I also want to assure the member that we're committed to ensuring that big corporations pay their fair share, Mr. Speaker. It's why we're eliminating the largest fossil fuel subsidy in BC, the Deep Well Royalty Program. It's why we're increasing the minimum oil and gas royalty rate by 66%. We increased the tax rate for large corporations in 2018 from 11 to 12%. And what this means, Mr. Speaker, what this means is that there's more revenue that allows us to reduce costs for people, strengthen our public service, as well as fight climate change.